Hello, everyone. As Victor mentioned, I work for one of Victor's first companies that he worked for. We've grown a little bit since then. I'm Alex Hudson, and I'm a technical project manager at High Force Research, and I'm very happy to be here in Barcelona. High Force Research are a slightly non-standard contract research organization. We really pride ourselves in a partnership-based approach. That way we can really respond to the changing, as Solitek mentioned, dynamics of the CRO landscape, taking a molecule from milligrams all the way up to the kilogram scale. We were founded in 1988, so we're about 36 years old, and we are the last fully UK-owned CRO, which is great for job security, but it really does allow that flexibility and that partnership approach. So, what have we been doing in the last 35, 36 years? We've focused heavily on API development. It's around 80% of our projects, so that it includes API synthesis, but it also includes diagnostics, medical images, and imaging agents. And I lump these as a separate category, but we also work on performance materials and polymers, but based on the last talk, lumping polymers out of life sciences is a bit unfair, so we do have a lot of work recently on optimizing polymers, coatings, and that like. So, we have two different sites in the northeast of England, which is not too dissimilar from Barcelona. We have majestic cathedrals and long golden beaches. The two sites in the north of England are very close to a lovely cathedral city called Durham. The smallest site is our R&D facility, which is the picture in the background. That has about 13 fume cupboards. And then we have a slightly bigger site, which is where we do our scale-up to the manufacture in our 30-litre vessels. We roughly work between about 10 MIG medchem projects up to multi-kilo scales. And those final projects with the aim of going towards GMP synthesis, as we've been MHRA accredited since 2007 for the production of phase 1 and phase 2 materials. So, as I mentioned, we have, across the two sites, this is 13 laboratories, 45 fume cupboards, and 55 staff. Victor is no longer. I think we were about 10 staff then. So we have grown a lot recently, and during that time, we've invested heavily to ensure that we are up to date with our staff training and our specialist equipment. So apologies that this slide is a little bit busy, but I'm going to focus in on a couple of different equipments that we've bought recently that have really helped clients' projects. So in terms of our reaction vessels, we have a lot of standard reaction vessels that you've probably seen before and used. We have jacketed reaction vessels that go up to 30 litre, and that's what we would use for a large-scale GMP synthesis. We have pressure vessels, extremely helpful, and then we have a photochemistry setup, which we actually recently used for a project to synthesize a very interesting tricyclic molecule. And we have some parallel synthesis and recently bought a Maya. The Maya system is really good because we're in constant discussion with our polymorph and solid-state scientists, as any good chemist should be. And the Maya 4 is a really good, small piece of kit that enables a recryst to be scaled up. It has a parallel of 4 different jacketed vessels. And finally, we've just bought a Vaportec flow system. And this has been an excellent piece of kit and enabled us to scale up a very difficult nitration reaction up to a kilogram scale already. And we've only owned this piece of kit for about 4 months. Isolation, I'm not going to spend too much time talking about isolation, but we do have lots of different ways to isolate molecules, and we tend to avoid our quite big kilogram reverse phase isolation techniques and focus on the better ones for scale-up, like recrystallizations. Analysis. So we have a full analytical in-house department with a lot of specialist analysts. We have a lot of equipment in here and a lot of people that are trained in using them. The two things to mention are the most recent addition to our analytical department is a CAD, a charged aerosol detector for our HPLC, and I would recommend anyone getting one of these. it's really helped us with syntheses of molecules that don't have a chromophore or have a really low chromophore. And it's also helped us with the synthesis, as I mentioned, with the imaging agents, where the chromophore will significantly change throughout the course of the synthesis. An excellent piece of kit. And then our newest addition is a texture analyzer. So this is enabling us to facilitate one specific client's project that we brought this in for, to measure the stress and strain characteristics of a polymeric gel, and then we've iteratively improved those stress and strain characteristics using this machine in our lab. Okay, as well as investing in the equipment, you do have to invest in your team. This is a little bit more of a light-hearted slide. So education is the best way to invest in your team. You can see the middle image is us investing in our staff, in business development, in terms of your professional career improvement. That is us completing a management course. And then the two images of the young chemists. We believe really heavily in the apprenticeship system in the UK. It's very rare. I think we're the only CRO that does this, but we take students that have just finished school and we allow them to work and train with us for 4 years, and at the end of that, they get a degree level qualification. It's really good, and they also become specialists. We do sports and social events. That's a 5-kilometre business run along the River Tyne, and that is a touch rugby tournament on one of our golden beaches, and then we have a social gathering at the end. This is, although smaller, it's still a very, very important part of what we do to empower our team. The image is a little charity litter pick that we organised, and then it can go to as large a scale as we organise a Northeast Women in Life Sciences event every single year. It started about 4 years ago with 10 to 20 people online, and now it's over 100 people, and it celebrates the career of women in the life science industry from early stage to late stage. So there's 3 speakers, and they vary drastically in their experiences and life choices. If any of you are in the northeast of England in January, February time, I would really recommend it. It's a lovely event. Throughout all this, we like to focus on the excellence, and that is not just the excellence in the chemistry and the machines and the equipment, it is in the excellence of our team and the training that we provide. So that's a picture of our director, Tristan, who has won an award that we won for being a fast-growing company over the last couple of years. And then on the right-hand side is one of our degree apprentices who just won the regional winner of the Business Education Awards for Britain in 2024. And we're really, really, really proud of Jude. So our servicing capabilities, I've mentioned before, but it is worth reiterating that it is very much a partnership approach. And it's a partnership approach with us and whoever we are contracted out for to synthesize the chemistry, but it's also a partnership approach that we take with offshoots like Solitek and Solid State. And having great communication is imperative to that. I'm not going to spend too much time talking about R&D, contract synthesis analysis. We've covered that in the equipment. Traceable manufacture is a term we've coined, and I will talk about that in a few slides' time. And GMP, good manufacturing practice, is the end goal of getting material into the clinic. You have to have a GMP campaign. And it really is the culmination of everything that precedes it. We also offer consultancy. This becomes incredibly useful, and we have quite a lot of repeat business because of this, but it helps talk to clients, introduce them to Solid State, sort out issues that they might have. We have an issue with a citric acid dispersion recently where the interactions that we have in the consultancy basis have helped a client push their drug forward. Okay, so this is our phased approach to a project progression. It is a linear, and it isn't linear in real life, as everyone would know. And we've put analytical development and stability studies in line, but they come wherever they come. So it starts off with route development, and often we're provided a route on a milligram scale that has been done in a small lab. Now, this isn't inherently bad, and it gives them targets. But the route is usually not amenable to scale up. We spend a lot of time researching and devising a new synthetic route, Sometimes we chop stages off, sometimes we do something as simple as removing a palladium coupling stage earlier in the synthesis, so there's more chance for it to be purged in your API. Once we've decided a route with the customer, then we will move on to process development, and we'll do some initial trials to make sure that that route actually is viable before we ask them for more money to do process development. So process development is my part of the business. I work in the process development section, and I think it's the most important, and it kind of is a linchpin between the other bits. Without good process development, you don't have a process. You can't get your material to be manufactured to be an API. And this is the point of our process when Victor comes in and Stephen and the Solitek team, because at this point, you've got a route, you know your impurities, you've defined process parameters and reaction outcomes. You also have to define your form that you want. You should do this as early as possible. This is the great time for this to happen. And at the end of this, you should have a robust and reproducible process. Analytical development, again, this isn't linear. You should have been doing analytical development before this, but this is when the analytical development becomes critical, and you need the definition of the methods so that you can really trust your impurity profiles, and that includes analytical methods such as the XRD and stuff to actually determine your solid form that you want. We have validation and quantification procedures to ICH standards, and all the staff are trained to do that because the eye is on the prize, which is the GMP manufacture at this point. So traceable manufacture is a step up in quality, but not quite to the quality level that is required for GMP. Not every CRO has this particular branch of quality. We really like it. We use it as a de-risking procedure for your GMP campaign. We try and persuade the customers to do a similar scale. So let's say they want to produce 500 grams of an API. We would suggest that they do a 500 gram traceable manufacture campaign before the GMP manufacture. It's exceedingly cheaper. You don't have all that quality paperwork that is needed. And it gives you a chance to run through the chemistry at the exact scale, on the exact machines, and then most clients at the end of this campaign would use that batch of material for a toxicology study. And finally, the last bit of synthesis that we really are involved in is the GMP manufacture. We have 2 ISO class clean rooms in our commercial site and a team of around 8 specialized GMP chemists. And this is the culmination of all the previous work. And it should, with the strong relationships that we've already built, enable you to define a good GMP starting point, an excellent set of specifications, so the quality team are happy, and then you've got a risk assessment for each stage for impurity profiles when you're allowed to progress. All of this section of our progression is massively quality involved, and we have our on-site quality team who help us hold our hands through it all. The last is stability studies, and again, it's very important that you do stability studies. I would suggest you do informal stability studies all the way across to make sure you know that your molecule has chemical stability, but it also has physical stability, which is slightly harder to persuade customers to spend the money on, but is very well worth it. We have an extremely hygroscopic compound at the minute, and it would be extremely beneficial if 2 years ago they might have spent a bit more time on physical form. At the end, we do ICH stability studies on the GMP manufacture, as you're supposed to, but we run that for you. Okay, so this is the last slide, and this is really important for any chemicals company, and it becomes more and more important every year. I mean, environmental considerations are huge, and we use a lot of energy, we use a lot of water, we use a lot of electricity. So in the last 2 years, a lot of our profits have been put into environmental sustainability. A year ago, we installed the entirety of our roof with solar panels, and we don't get as much sun in Barcelona as in Barcelona, but we do get enough sun, and we've saved ourselves about 1,100 worth of trees. And then this year, we replaced our water cooling system with a glycol cooling unit. And that saved us 2.5 million litres of water, which is the equivalent of 1 Olympic-sized swimming pool already. That is it. I thank you all for listening. please come and speak to me afterwards. Cheers.